Well, with 2 weeks left, I mean it's getting down to the nitty gritty, and I don't think anything's really changed for me as far as what I'm looking at. The hunt for the Big Ten championship. It has taken a few twists and turns with a couple of surprise losses by some teams, but really hasn't changed anything. Our focus is just getting better right now, and it is. As Matt always comes up with things, there are some goals within your team goals, within your regular season goals, and if we can win a few games here, we get a chance to tie a regular season record. That would be an impressive accomplishment for this team. So that might be one of the little caveats that we try to use within the big picture of things. And but probably what I'm most impressed with this team is you're always looking for balance. And today I did get a chance to look at the national stats, as I try to do each week, to try to figure out. I look at the Big Ten ones, where we are in the Big Ten, where we are nationally. And when you got stats that like assists, 3-point percentage, you're ranked in the top of the country. And then when you look at impressive stats like field goal percentage defense, 3-point percentage defense, and rebound margin, and you're ranked real high in all those, that means you're doing it on both ends of the court. And that, honestly, is a coach's dream. That's a football version of being great in special teams, offense, and defense. And if you can do that, especially the defensive part, when we haven't relied on the 3-point shot, but when you're ranked, third in the Big Ten on 3 points made, we're first in the Big Ten on 3-point field goal percentage by a lot. I think you can get enamored with that, and that is an instant reason for failure, if you ask me. You get into that NCAA tournament or Big Ten tournament where every possession matters, where everything tightens up a little bit. I guess you can win some games with the 3-point shot, but I'd hate to rely on that. I'd rather, rely on the staples of what has gotten us where we've gotten over the last 20 years. We do have some individual accomplishments. I guess you just talked to Denzel, and he's had an amazing year, and it's been getting better and better. Now the heat gets turned up even more. I'm anxious to see how he responds. But in looking at those national stats, to think Brent Forbes is third in 3-point field goal percentage surprised me. Tom is still very high in his assist to turnover ratio. Matt Costello is still within a few of getting a career block shots, and Didi has smashed the freshman one. So those things are all impressive, and they're all going to be neat at the end of the year. But I don't think, as we've talked about as a team, any of them matter if you don't accomplish the team things that you wanted to accomplish. And with that being said, that's still our main focus. That's what we're looking at. How can we finish the strongest, put us in the best position for the Big Ten tournament, and then the best position for the NCAA. As far as Ohio State, second week in a row now, we've run into the hottest team in the league. They've won 4 straight. Wisconsin have won 7 straight. If you look at the games over the years, they're always close. I mean, it seems like they're always 1, 2, or 3-point games, especially lately. And I think a large number of them all of them have been under 10 points, even when we were supposedly supposed to blow them out, or when they were supposed to blow us out. Back in the Neitzel days, and it ended up a barn burner. They're sort of young but very talented. Scares me when a guy like Loving, or who I think is very good and has struggled at times, played good at times. We recruited Diop, and we know what kind of player he is. And the point guard Lyles is an exceptional player, and he's had some ups and downs, but I'm telling you, as far as talent-wise, they're very good. And the other surprising thing with a young team, credit to Thad, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. So they've always been a very efficient offensive team. That's wavered a hair, but they've always been a good defensive team, and they're still that. So injury-wise, Kenny is nowhere near coming back. I mean, he's started to walk without crutches some. So that's a couple weeks away yet, minimum. And Tom is practicing a little bit more. As I say, nothing's going to change. We're going to still try to get him a few more minutes each game, but nothing's going to change as far as his injury and what it's like. So questions, I'll take them.
Tom, first, you guys sent out, meaning Matt and Louie, the communications folks, but the really trying to get Denzel the player of the year, the utility knife, all that kind of stuff. Something, just again, maybe a new footprint. Would you talk about that endeavor?
Well, it was something Matt, and I'm sure him and Louie and their department came up with, what I think is awesome. I think, and well-deserving, but don't take it as just to, like I've stated, I mean, there's a couple of very good candidates out there. And I think what they tried to do, and I thought it was brilliant on their part, is that expresses the versatility in what he does. And, that part of it still makes him my prejudice favorite. But I understand the big stages, the big wins. That's why I still think these last 4 games is critical for a lot of things. Individual goals are always something we strive for our players to accomplish. I'm not just a team guy, because I believe those individual goals will lead to team success. And sometimes team success helps with individual goals. But if you're not a player of the year candidate, you can win all your games, and that doesn't mean you're going to be player of the year. But if you are a player of your candidate and you win a lot of games, the two go hand in hand, and I think it helps. And that's why I've always been big on players having individual goals, and I'm appreciative that our media department strictly came up with that on their own. I had no input except to approve excitingly, because I thought it was a great idea, a great concept. But we're not trying to buy or trick people into it. We're trying to let people know that don't get to see him all the time. And there's a card that'll go out with it, just how versatile this kid has been. And I kudos to our guys. It was awesome.
Tom Crean stood right where we were at the other night and said that Matt Costello's played himself into the NBA. Your thoughts on his maturation this year?
Well, I think he's got a ways to go, but I think whenever you're averaging around a double-double in this league, it opens some doors, and, I just spent some time with Matt earlier today, and it has been fun to watch the evolution of Matt, from where he started to in the middle till at the end. When you look at not only his game but his personality, he's a unique kid in a lot of ways, and one that I keep thinking has more to give. So I'm never satisfied with Matt. Not that I'm satisfied with many people, but I really think Matt Costello has an upside yet, because he can shoot the ball as he works harder on that. He worked harder on it as a sophomore and then forgot about the inside game. Then he worked harder on the inside, but I think there's going to be a balance there. I think for him to really improve, he's either got to get bigger and stronger this way or, keep working on his quickness. But he upped his free throw percentage a lot, dropped off a little bit now. He definitely can shoot the ball. He's very smart and a good defender. He's got a knack for a guy who doesn't jump out of the gym to, number one, rebound, but number two, I'm hoping he'll become our all-time career block shots leader. And he's got a chance to do both. So those kind of things put you in a position where somebody's going to be looking. And when the year ends, one of the things we talked about was, let's make a run and see where we can end up. So it's kind of an exciting time that at least he's given himself a chance to play basketball after college, and that's, I think, what's really important.
I'm wondering if you can envision down the road seeing this nucleus of Ohio State players in some much bigger games against you with the talent and youth they have, and what you think the ceiling is for them right now.
Well, I still think it's high, and I say that because, Cam, their shooter, he's a redshirt sophomore, so he's got some experience, and Tate has played in a lot of games, so he's got some experience. It's not always what grade you're in; it's how much playing experience do you have. And Loving, I mean, we've had our hands full with him. Probably what Thad would like is a little more consistency out of him. But they got two guys inside, very athletic, a very good shot blocking team. They got enough scoring. They have proven to be on stats a very solid team. I mean, I think this team has a chance. I mean, this is a very big game for them too, and that's the problem when you get to this time of year. Depending who you catch, I mean, we catch them twice in 3 games for them. Who you catch and what you catch, as I've stated on press conference after press conference. I was talking to a guy in the ACC last night that was talking about how they've had to make adjustments to this, playing one team, playing too early, one late, depending when you get a team hot or cold. And I think right now these are big games for Ohio State. They're big games for Michigan State. They're a little younger. We're a little more experienced, but those young guys are talented guys. And I think Thad's done a good job with them. They were a little inconsistent early. They're becoming more consistent. Now they've won 4 in a row. We're going to go down there. They're 6 or 7-1 at home. We're going to get a hot team with a lot on the line, and so it'll probably be tournament-type fever, and that's probably good for us right now.
Marvin Clark was a guy last year who played, a very key role in that Final Four run. With Kenny Goins out, Marvin Clark has that opportunity in front of him. But what does he need to do to kind of get back to that form that he was in before the injury?
Well, he just needs to get on the floor, and he's starting to do that a little bit more. And part of that was, he struggled recovering from that injury, those 8 weeks off. He's struggled because opportunity. He struggled because I think the injury dragged him off a little bit. So what he's got to do is keep doing what he's doing. He's been living in here. He's been watching more film. He's been spending more time. The ingredients for success never changes. Usually a kid will do more as he's getting more opportunity. Sometimes you got to do more to get more opportunity. Right now, I like the place he's in. I like what he's doing. And I definitely think he's going to get more of an opportunity. And this will be one of those games where they're playing a lot of guys his size. Tate has really done a hell of a job as a 4-man toughness. He's done a hell of a job as an undersized 4-man. And I think Marv can be that. He can shoot it pretty well. And so he'll get more of an opportunity. What does he got to do? He's got to keep doing what he's been doing the last 2 weeks and even upgrade it a little bit. And I think you're going to see him take a few steps forward, and that's going to be important for him, but really important for us.
Tom, you've talked about Denzel's special qualities for a long time, and I'm just curious, after the fact, watching film, I mean, he's done some Magic-like things, he's done some Draymond-like things. Are you surprised, and just watching him through practice, just curious about that process of watching him do it and then kind of just seeing it unfold? Has anything surprised you about him?
Everything surprised me a little bit on how much improvement he's made in a lot of areas, I mean, his shooting is a big one, and his ball skills, I think, has gotten better each and every year for sure. But I can't say surprised. I'm just impressed that he's kept getting better each year. A lot of guys plateau. He's kind of at least taken, you always hope a guy's taking 2 steps forward, maybe a half back, and 3 steps forward, maybe 1 back. I mean, that's pretty common. He's kind of always taken more steps forward than any that he's taken back. And that's why he's constantly improved, and that's why I think he'll constantly do that. If you look at Draymond, he kind of did the same thing. He constantly improved, and that's impressive when a guy does that. And when you start subtracting the poor man's, as I always said, the poor man magic, or the poor man. When you start subtracting the poors and it gets closer to the guys that have done it in the past, it gives you kind of a map or whatever to see, a standard that it was set. And Denzel is exceeding some of them because of his variety of ways. Like I said, when they asked me who's my best defensive perimeter guy, well, when Tom was out, I mean, I had to go to Denzel, and then now Aaron has really picked up his, and Bryn has improved. So all of a sudden, I got three pretty good defenders, and I think our team has gotten better in the last couple of weeks because we've gotten better defensively. And Denzel has taken on every challenge I've given him, and at last game he was ready to cover everybody from Koenig to Hayes, and that's what we expect out of him. And in a strange sort of way, as I look at these different guys, Mello, Trumbull, and these different guys who have maybe struggled a little bit, hey, they always say there's a reason why you have an injury or trust and faith and why you do this and that. That summer he had was the same one Trumbull had, and maybe that little break he had was a positive for him. I don't know. I think it's hurt him in some areas, but I do think he's a fresher player right now, and he's a player that I trust. Like, I'm trying to get him out of practice some. He doesn't want to come out very often, but I trust if he tells me he's a little tired, he's a little this, he's a little that, he feels great. Right now, last couple of practices, Coach, don't take me out, I feel great, I think he's at the right place for the right time of year. I don't. Usually you guys are pretty good at giving me that, and I appreciate it. Usually Matt's pretty good at giving me that kind of information, but, there's a fine line that I'm sure players feel the same way, most of them, the good ones, the great ones do, that those things are really good and fun, and, I always talk about that footprint, and they can leave something, but if you do that and you have a bad year, it just doesn't have the same zing to it, And so I haven't focused on, like, even Didi, and Matt gave me some stats on, I wish Costello would get there because he deserves that to lead us in block shots, and I think it's always a feather in a guy's cap. But I think them and me are so ingrainedly focused on how can we get better to be the best team we can be when that Big Ten tournament comes around. That it's almost all we've been focused on lately, but I'm all for. I don't have any problem saying it. I'm all for those individual accomplishments because I do believe that if they reach those, our team's going to get better, and that's my job. If I let the individual thing take over and be too big of a deal, that's my fault. So if I kind of bring it together within the team, then I'm doing my job. They're doing their job. We're all better off.
What is it about this team that has made it your highest scoring team, and what do you hope that this team got out of this 8-day, one-game stretch that you are finishing up now?
Well, why is it my highest scoring team? I've got, I think 4 really good shooters. When you look at McQuaid, when you look at Harris, when you look at Valentine, and when you look at Forbes, that's one reason. I also think we've done a little better job getting the ball inside. I think as we became a better rebounding team, a better defensive team, we are leading the nation in rebound margin again. And what that does with this team is it gets our fast break going. And I think with Tom, it was excellent. With Zell, it struggled a little bit. Now Zell's gotten the hang of it and the feel for it. And I think we got something going there. And our bigs are running because I think we have enough substitutes where we can get move guys in and out. So it's been a good scoring team because we're getting more possessions, we're getting more opportunities to score. We have still, it's amazing with all the great stats. If you look at nationally, we're still really poor in steals for a good defensive team, but it's the philosophy of our defense. We're not gambling, we're inside out. We're still not getting to the free throw line enough. And I don't have a philosophy on that. That's the one stat that I am disappointed in. Too many fall-away shots, not enough go into you, especially the way they've, called things this year. I think players haven't done a very good job of adjusting, and probably the coach hasn't done a very good job of forcing that action. So we keep talking about it. I keep telling Zell on those last-second shots, you got to get fouled, and we'll get a little better at it, I think. I really do.
And the stretch where you've had
Well, we've worked on us a little bit more. In that stretch, we've given them some time off. You know, as David Thomas says, I'm getting soft, you know, but maybe I'm getting smarter. Maybe I'm realizing that people we're dealing with are society's a little softer. So we got to, you know, massage things a little bit more. But I know you're laughing because, you know, I'm struggling to say what, and you're thinking I'm full of, and you're right, I am. But I have done it. I've done a better job of trying to understand that. So I think it's been good. I think we'll be as rested as we can be going into this last stretch, which is a good thing.
Tom, there's always I know there's always games you could have back and change things, and you mentioned free throw. You want to get to the free throw line better, but overall for this team right now, with 2 weeks left, is this where are they where they need to be? Do you think they need to be in terms of kind of being in that?
I'm a little still confused with, you know, our schedule is still put us where I'm not positive on, you know, we played well for a half at Purdue. That was good. We haven't played Iowa since, you know, it seems like when Judd was here was the last time we played Iowa. It was so long ago. And, you know, you play Michigan once. You know, we did play Wisconsin twice, so I think it's a good team. Maryland was a while ago. You know, it's just hard for me to get a real view on that whole thing. But when I see the stats, which don't always, I'm not an analytics guy, but I like the fact that we're getting some balance on both sides of the court. We are been pretty impressive as far as our defensive stats, which I think are going to still carry us. Thank God for the Denver Broncos. You know, it's still going to carry us when it's real time. I don't think we're rebounding quite as good. You know, Zell isn't rebounding as good as he was, and he's still getting some stats, but he's not getting the rebounds he used to get. And I really blame that on where I'm playing him. You know, everybody always wants to think you can play a guy at certain positions and it helps in one area but affects the other area. And you know, Didi's got to get a little stronger and hungrier down there. You know, Schilling now is starting to play a little bit more. But if you really looked at the guy we lost, per minute, he was a very consistent rebounder. You know, Kenny was. I mean, he had a knack and was a very consistent rebounder. So we lost something there. I'd like to see that improve a little bit. I'd still like the consistency of our running game to improve a little bit. I think we're executing better, which is a good sign. I think we're better defensively, which is a good sign. But I don't know. You know, I don't know if anybody knows where anybody is right now. It's been such a bizarre year. I really don't. I feel good that we're making progress in the right direction. I don't think we've gotten to where we need to be yet. But if I looked at 22-5, I'd say, wow, I would have turned that card in at the beginning of the year. When I look at how it was, sometimes I say, God, I do like you. I go to bed and say, you know, why did we let this happen and that happen? But it's what's happened, you know. And of those 5 losses, 3 of them have been 1-point losses. So is this team doing about as well as I thought it could do? Probably ahead of where I thought it would be if I was to be blunt about that. But that's what happens when you have a senior, actually 2 seniors that are having career years. One who's been off the charts in Denzel, but somebody said it to me the other day, you don't appreciate what Matt Costello's done. Sometimes I don't appreciate what Matt Costello's done, but he's having his best year, and he's doing a hell of a job in what he's doing.
Hey, Tom, I know you already spoke a bit about this, but would you be able to talk a little bit more about being named a finalist in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I probably feel like Denzel. It's an unbelievable honor. It's one I didn't dream about. I mean, he dreamed about being a pro. He dreamed about being an All-American. I can't say I dreamed about being in the Hall of Fame. You know, I was there once, and it was a lot of years ago, and it wasn't something I don't even know if it was on a wish list, if you want the truth, because it just seems so far-fetched. And I said, what has been the greatest thing that's happened to me since they told me that is every once in a while when I let myself go, I fly into California and I'm in a plane for 5 hours or something where I'm off the beaten path. I just kind of remember back all the great teams and the guys that have helped me get to here, and it's why I feel like my job is to help them get to their dreams and goals. The difference with this is I'm not sure it was a dream. I'm not sure it was a goal. It was almost like too far out there to be a dream and a goal. And thank God for the guys that got me here and the assistant coaches and everybody else. I guess it's put in where it's now a dream. But I don't lose sleep over it. They say if it happens, then I think you lose sleep over it. But right now, I'm just trying to. I just try to look at. Matt will give me some things on who is in there, and I think about some of the people that I know that are in there, and sometimes I say I don't deserve to be in with that group, and that's not humbly. That's real, and yet we've accomplished some great things thanks to the players that have accomplished them. For me. And so, like everybody else, sometimes individual accolades come with team success. If we were 300 and 300, I could have coached every bit as good. I wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. So I understand that the chance of getting there is due to what players have really done for you. And what a cool thing that you know that's the reason you have a chance to be there. You can be a good guy, you can be a great coach. If you aren't winning a lot of games and doing some incredible things, you aren't getting there. So when I say to the players, I don't say that, again, humbly. That is the swear to God truth. That is the way it is. And that part of it is exciting to me because I think some of those guys, when they called and said something, and I said, yeah, it's, thanks to you, or thanks to you, or thanks to you. I'm hoping and feeling and thinking they're taking some ownership in my success, just like I love going to the green room on draft night and taking just a little bit of their big night. And that's kind of the way I've looked at it.
Tom Harris seemed really excited about being called a defensive leader on this team. Can you comment on his play and his response to that?
How far he's come. Yeah. You know what? I've been more impressed with Aaron Harris in the last 3 weeks than I was all last year. And last year he did some things in practice that I couldn't even believe. And I say that because not only has he taken exactly what you said, I think he's excited about it. It's like a bad student who comes in, and all of a sudden he starts having some success. And we've got one right now that is actually, when I talk to our academic people, they say, God, he's excited about it. Aaron Harris has gotten excited about being a good defender. He's gotten excited about his teammates thinking he's a good defender. He probably spends as much time in the last 2-3 weeks. In fact, I saw Matt Costello and Aaron Harris in there when I left for this press conference, watching film, doing things that he wasn't doing before. And it's all part of the process. It's all part of the learning curve. It's all part of, maybe doing something a little extra than having some success. Then people realize you're having some success, and you feel good about it, But usually offensive players don't feel as good about defensive things as defensive players would feel as good about an offensive stat that they improved on. But he's bought in, and I don't know if it's because we've constantly talked about the players before him that have had some success. I look at a Charlie Bell as an example. Aaron Harris can be like him, and he's a slasher, and he can do things, and who knows where it can take him. But he just improved his game by 50% because he went from, to me, a very, very average defender to now he's turned himself into a very good defender. His offense will start coming off that. I already know that can be good. And, he's going to put himself in a position where, as time goes here, I think his game's going to really take off. Bryn Forbes has made some improvement on it, but he's made a lot. And I have liked what you just said. he's starting to embrace it. He's starting to be excited about it. I didn't think that day would come, you know. But even Zell to a certain extent. But Zell, you know, Dad was a coach on his butt all the time about playing it. He's taken more pride in it. But I think Aaron it's been a flip the switch. And, I mean, I think if I told him he's got certain people, he'd want that. And if I told him he didn't have a certain person, he'd ask me for that. And that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Denzel was telling us how he's been hearing from you since January about the postseason and kind of different things about that. How do you kind of balance, you know, the season and then kind of getting the postseason in their minds at this point?
Well, I do talk about the postseason a lot here, and because that's where we're at. I mean, I'm not stupid. That's what matters. But there is a process to that. And the reason I talk about it is the mistakes. I mean, let's face it, guys. The coach, the players have made some mistakes that have cost us a lot this year. I mean, foolish mistakes at the end of games that did cost us, you know, a couple of games. And so I got to do a better job, and they got to do a little better job. And I just keep telling them that the my bads of the world are okay. They just don't win you championships. They don't advance you deep into any tournament that is one and done. I said the pros got that one thing over us, you know. They got 7 games to prove themselves. You know, you can have a bad game, you can have a good game, you can do this, you can do that. You know, we saw it in college football. You saw it here. We talk about what happened. I mean, Michigan State just had a bad game that day. I mean, Alabama was good. Give them credit. But we had a bad game. You know, maybe one play before half changed the whole game. But that's what happens in one and done time. And so that's the learning curve I want them to realize from January on. It's okay. You're going to make mistakes. As long as you understand the reason I'm harping on them is because when you make those mistakes a little later on in the season or early in the season could cost you a Big Ten championship. That's one thing. But later on, you hang up the sneakers. And when you're a senior and you're hanging up those sneakers, that hits home. And I'm going to make sure that those seniors know that one and done means one and done. And you don't prepare for that after the Big Ten tournament or the week of the Big Ten tournament. You prepare for that all year long. And when January comes, you start ratcheting that up. And so I don't talk just about the NCAA tournament, forget the season. There's a rumor out there that, you know, we let Denzel go because, and that one is true. I didn't want that pressure. And so we did fake that injury because, you know me, I'm not a guy that enjoys pressure. And so think how ridiculous that is. You know, I hope the guy didn't graduate from anywhere. But anyway, that is something I do talk about a lot because I think it's the process of understanding and growing from boy to man to understand that mistakes have consequences and some are going to take time to develop. But when it comes to the point in the season where one loss sends you home, you better understand that. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think anybody should look at me and say, well, he's worried about the tournament in January. You're damn right I'm worried about the tournament in January. I'm worried about players understanding that mistakes have to shrink if you're going to be successful. And the tournament gives you a platform to explain that because you can go back over the years. And there's always a difference between not winning the league, bothers you, upsets you, but hanging up the shoes is permanent. And that's why I do it. That's what I do.
Well, you stole part of my question if you had any more conspiracy theories for Mark Titus, but
who's that?
That's who floated that conspiracy theory, the guy who played at Ohio State.
That's pretty, you know, he played, geez, that's even more different than, well, the truth of it is, I mean, I give him credit because, you know, we don't like to peak early, and like I said, a lot of people think that in November, December, I golf or something so that I don't coach my guys so he can do it later on. But, there is no conspiracy on anything. I mean, I want to win every game I play, and I think those guys do too. But I do want to make sure that we have a progression. So if we win every game in November and December, then we better continue to get better in January and February, because we're far from a perfect team. So if he thinks we peaked because we're great already, I can send him some game film.
The real question is about Davis and talking about a guy that's getting better defensively. What did you see when you watched back that tape of the Wisconsin game that maybe he was doing differently than he was maybe a month ago even?
Well, I think Didi is picking up, and as I told you guys, I think Didi's an example of what I preach here all the time. A player-coach team is better than a coach-coach team. My staff has done a good job with Didi. Mike was spending more time with him 8 o'clock this morning. But it's the players. It's the Matts. It's the Kobe's. It's the Denzels. And those guys, I laugh once in a while. I say, you're lucky you came here and didn't go somewhere else. Well, I only say that because we just happen to have a group of seniors and juniors that are incredibly sharing individuals, whether it be how to handle me, how to handle a tough time, or how to handle players. And he's growing in that respect. He's moving his feet better. He's understanding that he's got to stay in his stance more often. It's not how he played in high school. It wasn't anything against that. It's what you can get away with, and that's the curb you have to handle. Is if you can get away with coming in at 9 o'clock at night, parents aren't mad at you, you're going to get away with it. If he got away with standing there in the lane and being able to block shots, you can get away with it. Now he's got to guard perimeter guys, and he really has made some progress. And yet give those other guys credit too, because we're cheating and helping and doing some different things like you always do to scheme against certain things. And so the combination has worked really well. But he's improving because I think he's listening better. He's understanding more. He's being force-fed on the film stuff, realizing how much aid it can give you to see it visually compared to hear it, verbally. And all those things are what's fun to see in a player, And but I would not, of all the things, the most credit goes to our other players who have, and my assistants have done a good job with him, but the other players who could have been jealous of his McDonald's status or jealous that he's starting as a freshman or taking some of their playing time. That's what this team, of all the accomplishments they'll have this year, the longest winning streak, to this, to that, this team will go down for me as one of the least challenging off the court, in the classroom, in practice, most giving, concerned about each other, from the movies they all went to all summer, then the dinners, and that's what their legacy will be. Now, if they can top that with a heck of a run down the stretch here, they got a chance to put themselves in their own little cloud instead of on top of it, instead of being just one of 5 or 6, and that's why I'm excited about our chances. But I tell you, we got a tough game tomorrow, and that is my last worry. And I'll leave it with this: is as you start having success, you win 6 out of 7. More people are talking about individual players. More people are talking about your team. I've listened to guys that are, now talking about us having a great chance to win it all. That a month ago were, wondering if we were going to get in the tournament. I mean, it's just amazing how fast it flips. And so my job is to make sure these guys stay as grounded as they are, and yet get a little cocky on what they can accomplish. That's the biggest challenge of a coach, this Twitter era, in this environment. And we're going to try to do the best we can. We'll see how we do. So thanks a lot, guys. Good job by you guys.